March 2nd, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. Each soul carries in it a plateau of reality. This plateau is based upon the soul's interpretation of truth. Sometimes the truth is genuine. Very often, however, the truth is compromised. When the truth is compromised, the soul's reality of right and wrong become compromised as well. This is what has happened in society today. What used to be scandalous, such as sex outside of marriage, homosexuality, abortion, and more, has now become in vogue and acceptable. This is how cultures become corrupt. In leadership, both secular and religious, you can readily see group warfare. Each one is out for himself, for self-gain and disordered authority. But the reality is each one is answerable to me for the way he fulfills his office. Each one must answer for his commitment as it relates to God and neighbor, holy love. Many hold disdain in their hearts for these messages of holy love, simply for the reality of truth, which they do not wish to accept. When I was in the world, it was no different. The truths I offered were greatly rejected by those who did not live in the truth. March 2nd, 2014. St. Peter comes holding a key. He says, "Praise be to Jesus." The key to a good apostleship is holy love in the heart. This is the height and the depth of every evangelization effort. It is only then that the apostle can meet people where they are spiritually in a non-critical way. The apostle looks into his own heart to find error first. He trusts in God's mercy for forgiveness. This helps him to forgive what he sees as errors in others' hearts. Holy love is the safeguard against self-righteousness. It promotes in the heart an effort to be non-judgmental. Holy love reaches out to all people and all nations. While a heart steeped in holy love does not judge, it leads in a positive effort towards salvation, always pointing to the next positive step to be taken, and leading past any pitfall with gentleness. March 3rd, 2014. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, "I am your Jesus, born incarnate." My brothers and sisters, you must pray for world peace. No political leader has the right to invade another country by force. Such moves are a threat to the entire world and the planet itself. I'm counting on your prayers. Tonight, I'm extending to you my blessing of divine love. March 4th, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. I tell you solemnly, it is each one's responsibility to always stand up for the truth. As it happens too often, leadership is set in place and the leaders lose track of the truth. They depend on their title alone to stand for truth. But you have been given the truth here, which is always holy love, this being the embrace of God's will for you. Leaders who transgress the rights of others towards self-gain have abandoned the truth. Those who use their titles and authority wantonly to gain power, control, or self-gain have abandoned the truth for love of self. This is how peace is destroyed. This is the description of corruption. Always beware of factions, as this is the onset of political manipulation in any group. This is how Masonic influence began, innocently, but with exclusiveness as a foundation. Be united in the truth. March 5th, 2014. Blessed Mother says, "Praise be to Jesus." Today I have come to discuss the current state of the world. My son's heart mourns for the abuse of power, such as it is. Currently in Russia, the leader is showing his true colors. He is an aggressor, not to be trusted, not to be pandered to, as your president has tried. He is using his power to overtake peoples and territories which are not his to take, clearly an abuse of authority. Your president reminds me of a fine race car at the starting line. It looks powerful and opposing, but when the gun goes off, it is discovered there is no engine inside. All the other cars take off and leave the empty car in the dust. Your president holds a powerful office, but he abuses his authority as well by not fulfilling the office he was given, not functioning as a leader. Words, agreements, and sanctions will not remedy the situation in the Ukraine. The enemy has weakened your country by political division and overcommitment to other nations in the world. He has cleverly used moral issues as a method of dividing this nation politically and of confusing your goals. While you are attempting to bring social justice to all, whole nations are losing their freedom. The aggressor in Russia does not seek unity and peace. He will seek more territories unless he is stopped. Your nation has always been the peacekeeper, with its no-nonsense approach to aggression. These days the world has peeked under the hood of the race car, your president, and discovered there is nothing inside. Pray, pray, pray. March 6th, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. Remember, trust is the path beneath your feet as you travel through the chambers of our united hearts. When you slip from the path of trust, the enemy has his way with you. It is then the obstacle of doubts fills your heart and confusion ensues. With trust as your footpath, truth is the wind at your back. March 7th, 2014. Blessed Mother says, "Praise be to Jesus." Dear children, the hour is upon you when you must listen or suffer the consequences. Obey my call to you, which is to be united in holy love. In Rwanda, my warnings went unheeded. Those who could have helped did not want to believe in the truth. These days the world as a whole pursues the same course. You are making great strides in being united in evil. Decadence has taken over governments. Individual rights are only upheld if they support sin. Nations have adopted policies which, in ages past, would have never been considered in the light of truth. Dear children, you are racing towards your own destruction. My son grieves for the choices you make and for the justice that pulls at his heart. You have the power to provoke change through the rosary of the unborn and the devotion to my son's mournful heart. Learn from what has happened in other nations such as Rwanda. Not listening cost many, many lives. Do not let this repeat itself worldwide for lack of believing in the truth I am giving you. March 7th, 2014. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, "I am your Jesus, born incarnate." He has the image of the united hearts in front of him. My brothers and sisters, heaven is very pleased with the image above the altar. Tonight, I ask that you rededicate yourselves to spreading the consecration of the heart of the world to our united hearts. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 8th, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. I offer you my mournful heart in appeasement of your trials. When you petition my mournful heart, your trials are lifted, and my mournful heart too is appeased. Pray this way. Most mournful heart of Jesus, wash this petition for, name the petition, in the precious blood which flows from your mournful heart. May God's divine will be done. Amen. March 14th, 2014. I, Maureen, had a dream about Blessed Mother. In the dream I was so overwhelmed with Our Lady's presence I started to cry. Our Lady said, "Dear children, return to me, your Immaculate Mother. No longer look for differences between you, but oneness. Be at peace." March 15th, 2014. Alanis, Maureen's guardian angel, says, "Praise be to Jesus. I am the spiritual compass of your heart. Every heart has such a compass. Some souls cannot read their compass. That is, they do not listen to their angels, and they become lost along the way. Others are diverted, forgetting to check their compass, forgetting to notice where they are being led. But each soul has his angel to guide and protect his spiritual journey. These days, souls need to be reminded of what direction they travel. A note is given. This is one of the purposes of the Lenten season. March 16th, 2014. St. Patrick is here. He has sequins all over his vestments. He is holding a shamrock. He says, "Praise be to Jesus." In my day I taught about the Holy Trinity with this simple shamrock. Today we have this new revelation of the united hearts to live in union with the Holy Trinity. People need to look with open hearts at what they have been given so quietly and without fanfare in this private revelation. Progression through the chambers of the united hearts is progression towards a deeper relationship with the Holy Trinity. March 17th, 2014. The Feast of St. Patrick. St. Patrick says, "Praise be to Jesus." Today, on my feast day, I have come to help all to understand that as Our Lady's heart is the gateway to the New Jerusalem, her Immaculate Heart also lends access to a deeper relationship with the Blessed Trinity. It is through the heart of Mary, the first chamber of the united hearts, that the soul is purified and admitted to his spiritual journey through the subsequent chambers of the Holy Trinity. My mission in the world was to convert pagans to Christianity, that is, those who never knew God. But today the mission of believers is to convert unbelievers, those who know God but do not keep his commandments. March 17th, 2014. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, "I am your Jesus, born incarnate." My brothers and sisters, I tell you solemnly, the one who has heard these messages and yet refuses to believe and live in holy love is more culpable before my judgment seat than the pagan who never heard of God. Tonight I'm extending to you my blessing of divine love. March 18th, 2014. Our Lady comes as Our Lady Protectress of the Faith. She says, "Praise be to Jesus." Dear children, these days I pray that your faith will be strong and envelop you like a cocoon. All around you is error and compromise. In every aspect of society, truth has been altered and confusion has taken over. This is why God has sent me as your protectress. In the midst of the fire of controversy surrounding the great good of my protection, Realize that it is the yeast of the Pharisees, self-righteousness, which is your enemy. Allow your faith to cradle you and cushion you against all compromised truth. It is in this way my strength will work through you. March 20th, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. These days, as you are recovering from an illness, food looks very tempting, but the effect it has on you physically is not so good. It is the same with sin. Satan makes his temptations look pleasing and harmless, but the effect on the soul spiritually is detrimental. Every temptation to sin is a temptation against holy love. This is the common denominator of evil. Therefore, to be well spiritually, the soul needs to keep his focus on holy love. Is it any wonder the attacks are so great upon this ministry? March 21st, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. The foundation of all personal holiness is holy love. Every virtue is built upon holy love. The mortar which holds each virtue in place is humility. Without humility, the virtues that the soul believes he has are false. Please understand, then, that the soul who believes himself to be holy has been tricked by Satan. The truly holy person recognizes his errors and is constantly trying to be perfected in virtue. This is why I repeatedly tell you it is dangerous to believe too much in yourself. See every good thing as flowing from divine abundance. March 21st, 2014. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My brothers and sisters, every conversion process is painful, for it begins with an illumination of conscience. Then the soul must accept his error and denounce it. When we speak of the conversion of the heart of the world, we need many, many prayers and sacrifices to bring about this effect. It is very difficult for someone of prominence to renounce a position that has defined him. Continue to pray and to sacrifice. Tonight I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 21st, 2014. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My brothers and sisters, every conversion process is painful, for it begins with an illumination of conscience. Then the soul must accept his error and denounce it. When we speak of the conversion of the heart of the world, we need many, many prayers and sacrifices to bring about this effect. It is very difficult for someone of prominence to renounce a position that has defined him. Continue to pray and to sacrifice. Tonight I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 22nd, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. I tell you solemnly, the more pride a person invests in his own opinion, the harder it is for him to admit to error and change his stance. This is how pride takes on such an important role in a person's conversion. This is how error is perpetrated from generation to generation. When I was in the world, the Pharisees could not admit to error despite signs and miracles. The love of their own opinion precluded any change of opinion. These days it is no different. People who hear these messages feel compelled to form an opinion. Once they choose against the truth, it is difficult for them to reevaluate their stance. Hand in hand with pride in one's opinion is the pride of cynicism, which imprisons the heart in untruth. March 23rd, 2014. Blessed Mother says, Praise be to Jesus. These laws which are being passed state by state, legalizing the sin of sodomy through same-sex marriage, are based upon a live and let live attitude. But I tell you, every sin affects mankind's relationship with God. Every sin calls upon God's justice. Therefore, encouraging this sin of homosexuality by legalizing such relationships affects every person and awaits the hand of justice. Do not be so foolish as to think you can turn the other way, and moral decadence will not affect you. God's justice, when it comes, will not single out only the evil, but will visit all of earth. Your laws define your moral integrity as a nation. You must decide if you choose as a nation to draw closer to God or farther away. March 24th, 2014. Blessed Mother says, Praise be to Jesus. I come once again to encourage prayer and sacrifice towards the conversion of the heart of the world. Dear children, if you realized the width and the depth of the abyss between the heart of man and the heart of God, you would spare no effort in prayer and sacrifice against the evils of the day. Truth is the balm that can heal and close the wound between God and man, for it is the diabolical convolution of truth that has inflicted this wound. Pray to be able to forgive one another, for this will open a lifeline to recognizing the truth. March 24th, 2014. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My brothers and sisters, tonight, on the eve of my mother's annunciation, have the disposition of heart to be open to God's divine will for you, as she was. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 25th, 2014, the Feast of the Annunciation. Blessed Mother says, Praise be to Jesus. Today, as you celebrate my yes to the angel Gabriel, please understand that these days the legal system is embroiled in conflict with righteous choices. Governments have made sin into freedom, bypassing the truth. This has compromised consciences to the point of souls not searching for the truth in God's eyes, and not recognizing or even considering God's will. A simple yes was what the archangel needed at the Annunciation. I surrendered my will to the will of the Father. In that moment, heaven touched earth and quietly changed the course of human history. Today, governments have imposed the formation of evil upon the consciences of the world, so that righteous decisions are scoffed at, even scorned. Do not confuse, dear children, the false consciences the government imposes upon you by law with the truth of God's will for you. Your salvation weighs in the balance. March 26th, 2014. Blessed Mother says, Praise be to Jesus. Dear children, this once great country was founded on religious freedom. If you surrender this God-given right, you are surrendering to evil. No government should be given the right to dictate matters of conscience. No one should support such leaders. You should not be put in the position of choosing between God and country. But this is the path events are following. I urge you to stand firm in favor of holiness. Pray for holy boldness to see where you can make a difference. This is not the time for silence or for blind obedience towards errant leadership. Pray for the inspiration of the Spirit of truth, the Holy Spirit, and the protection of the angels. I am praying with you. A note is given to read Galatians chapter 3, 2 through 5. Let me ask you only this: did you receive the Spirit by works of the law, or by hearing with faith? Are you so foolish? Having begun with the Spirit, are you now ending with the flesh? Did you experience so many things in vain, if it really is in vain? Does he who supplies the Spirit to you and works miracles among you do so by works of the law, or by hearing with faith? March 27th, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. I invite you still again to see that labels can be very misleading. A person can be given a great title, but not fulfill, in truth, the duties of his office. Sometimes it is just the opposite. For instance, Russia proclaims communism dead, yet acts in the ways of communism in its policies. So while it renounces a label, it is still the same government in action. This is why wisdom must help you to search out the truth. Do not look at what should be, but what is. Do not only listen to words, but look at actions. Do not believe in the title of a person, but look at how he fulfills the title. Everyone is liable to God for living in the truth. March 28th, 2014. Jesus is here with his mournful heart exposed. He says, I am your Jesus, born incarnate. Pray, my children, to realize the profound grace that this property affords you. It is your perseverance in prayer that has proven fruitful in this mission, in the buildings, in the messages and all the graces offered at this prayer site. Understand that if you had not been tenacious in your efforts, none of this would have come about. But it is God's will your prayers were answered. Therefore be at peace here at heaven's prayer site. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 28th, 2014. St. Thomas Aquinas says, Praise be to Jesus. I have come to succinctly state the differences between a believer and non-believer in holy love. These have been stated in various ways in the past, but bear repeating. The non-believer has erroneous opinion based on hearsay or some untruth, and will not search out the truth or accept it, while the believer accepts heaven's intervention as the truth. The non-believer cannot accept heaven's choice of visionary or messenger out of spiritual envy, and places limitations on who or where Holy Spirit will work, while the believer makes total allowance for heaven's right to choose whom it wishes without limitations. The non-believer does not internalize messages and is not open to self-knowledge, while the believer applies every message to himself and constantly strives for perfection in holiness. The non-believer looks for any negative reason to disbelieve and does not base negative opinions on fact, while the believer sees the good in every message. The non-believer is full of self-righteousness, while the believer humbly believes others to be more holy than himself and states his opinions, then prays they are accepted. There are marked differences in the hearts of believers and non-believers. They are as far apart as pride is from humility. Pray the barrier of proud hearts is defeated. March 29th, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. Each one needs to be accountable for his own salvation. In the end, reputation, wealth, and power are of no account. What weighs in the balance is adherence to the truth. The danger is that souls compromise the truth to suit their own needs. To do so is to live according to Satan's lies. The hallmark of living in holy love is peace and unity. Whatever destroys peace and unity is a compromise of the truth. Learn to be open to constructive criticism from the greatest amongst you to the least. Being open means you do not fly into a defensive rage, but listen and take heed. Learn not to complain about others, for this is also divisive. Be peacemakers, then you will have peace always in your hearts. March 30th, 2014. Blessed Mother says, Praise be to Jesus. These days, as long-awaited spring approaches, earth seems to come alive. All of nature buds and blossoms. The air itself warms and seems more hospitable. I pray that this season warms hearts to holy love, thawing frozen, opinionated hearts with the truth. I pray that the heart of the world will bloom in holy love, becoming beautiful in God's eyes. There is no particular season for holy love. Rather, every present moment is God's invitation to bud and bloom according to the commandments of love. Every present moment is a treasure of grace, waiting to be discovered and appreciated as a little spring flower that lies hidden beneath the dried leaves. Dear children, open your hearts in the warmth of God's love. Allow your hearts to be renewed by each grace God offers. Allow the fragrance of holy love in your hearts to reach out to others and to affect the world around you. Join me in my prayer for renewal of the heart of the world. Dear God, awaken every heart to the truth. March 31st, 2014. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. I tell you in truth, the crucifixion and the resurrection come together here in this mission and at this prayer site. This ministry has been crucified unjustly, just as I was, for the sake of jealous power. False accusations have been lodged against it and the messenger. Heaven's messages have been disregarded and held up to ridicule. At the same time, the ministry and prayer site represent the resurrection. Here is the rebirth and renewal of life according to the commandments. Here is the hope of peace and healing for the heart of the world. Here is the joy of a new life in truth. I turn no one away from this hallowed site. I offer each one what he needs towards his salvation and deeper holiness. Come and see. Come and believe. March 31st, 2014. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My brothers and sisters, I am most compassionate towards those who persevere in prayer and sacrifice. These are the prayers that touch my heart. I am listening. Therefore be encouraged in perseverance. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 19th, 2014, the Feast of St. Joseph. Treatise on Fatherhood. St. Joseph says, Praise be to Jesus. Today, as I speak to you about fatherhood, I invite you to take as a perfect example the eternal now, the Father of all mankind. He is the perfection of provision and protection, which all fathers need to emulate. God the Father is the creator of the universe and of all life. Indeed, he is the supreme giver of life and the inspiration of truth. As the first Father, he gave us his only begotten Son to redeem mankind. All fathers need to pursue unselfish service to their families, devoted protection, and unmitigated loyalty to those under their charge. These days, the attacks on marriage, even unto redefinition by law, have compromised the role of fatherhood and destroyed the sanctity of the family unit. The result is every sort of disorder and chaos in society. In my day, the father firmly, lovingly held his place as the leader of the family. His role was not challenged. His esteem was not thwarted by misguided role models. The good father is gentle, understanding, steadfast in righteousness, yet never self-righteous. He is a firm model of the truth, thus a guide to consciences and a spiritual mentor. He holds no malice in his heart, but is the model of forgiveness. I have come to affirm the fathers who live in holy love, and to admonish those who oppose it. Be a sign of reconciliation with God, and you will be on the right path to being a good father. March 28th, 2014. Blessed Mother says, Praise be to Jesus. Dear children, once again my Son sends me to you towards the spiritual welfare of all people and all nations. Today I address in particular those who have allowed their hearts to become paralyzed by spiritual pride. These are the ones who are self-satisfied with where they are spiritually, to the point of self-righteousness. It is easy for them to explain away heaven's intervention here. After all, they are not having the visions or apparitions, therefore they cannot be real. They do not look for any positive insight in the messages, and do not hold themselves accountable to living in holy love. This prideful stance is much easier to live by than it is to humbly believe. But as always, dear children, I have come to protect your faith from proud error and renew your spirit in the truth. Let the Spirit of truth melt the ice from your hearts. Allow new growth in faith to bud and blossom within you. Understand how much I care for each of you, and begin to listen. No longer carry the burden of disbelief in your hearts, but believe. Spiritual pride weighs heavy upon the heart of mankind. It is only through an act of humility, by admitting your opinions have been wrong, that souls can come to me with open arms. I, your heavenly Mother, await you. A note is given. The word listen comes from the Latin to hear the voice of God in the heart and obey. It is the source by which we surrender our hearts to God in every present moment, like Blessed Mother in her fiat or yes to God.
Oh, my dear children, have you been wondering what is God's will for you and what you are to do? He wants you to love Him and love your neighbor. This is the answer. It is holy love. God has entrusted the peace and conversion of all this world to me. In hands fall from grace, I ask you to join my army of soldiers, for this great battle is won by holy love. Listen, children, that you may see no truth opposes this way of love. Oh, my dear children, have you been wondering what is God's will for you and what you are to do? He wants you to love Him and love your neighbor. This is the answer. It is holy love. Please now surrender your will to God's will, living each moment in this way of holy love. You can give up your pleasures and all of your riches, but the greatest atonement to live in holiness